This is not just oil. This is M&S Porsche approved extra virgin oil. Hi all, welcome back to Tom Mods Things. Today we're not doing any mods, but we are going to be servicing my Porsche Cayman. It's well overdue. Well, I do it every 8,000 miles, so it's on about 10 at the moment, so it's probably around the time which most people get it done anyway, unless you follow the service manual, which, I mean, yeah, anyway, that's for another story really, but yeah, so it's full service, so we're going to be doing oil change, filters, spark plugs, and all the good stuff. Just give it a check over as well, because I've got my MOT coming up soon, just to make sure everything's all right, and all the bushings and stuff are all still intact. There's quite a few videos showing people how to service these cars online, but I keep getting asked on forum posts sort of how easy is it to do as a bloke with sort of just basic tools in his garage, rolling around on the floor grunting quite a lot. So yeah, without further ado, let's get to that. Right, so these are the bits that we're going to be changing. So we've got oil filter, some spark plugs, air filter. This is technically, as you can see, with the battered box, an old filter that I've had knocking around for a little while. Basically, I've got a ITG performance foam filter in the car at the moment, and so that is a reusable filter that requires cleaning every service, and so rather than be without the car for a week, 2 weeks or so while it's drying and stuff, it's easier just to have a spare one to hand, which I can then swap out. Then finally we've got some oil, which, yes, it's not the Mobil 1 approved Porsche oil.
You are not my mate, and you are not my fellow DJ! Goodbye!
But frankly, if it's good enough for a Ferrari, then it's going to be good for this heap of a Cayman. So anyway, to it. Right, so car's up in the air. So I'm just going to whip off the rear wheel, which is going to give me access to a couple of compartments in there, which you need to get access to get to the spark plugs and stuff, and it's kind of easier to do it now rather than drain the oil out, because you can get more access. So in here we're looking at this compartment right here. It's held on with 3 fixings. We've got one down here, one up here, and then, oh, just let it focus, one right over in here. As you can see, this one, let it light up a little bit, this one's actually snapped, so be careful with these and taking them off, because the little studs aren't very big, and with a little bit too much force either doing them up or taking them off, you can actually shear the bolts. Not that it matters too much. With 2 it's absolutely fine for what it does. It's only a protective shield to stop things, dirt and debris and stuff kicking up and covering the coil packs. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to just whip off all of these covers, and then I'll show you what you see behind them. Right, now we're going to move on to getting to the coil packs and the spark plugs. So as you can see in there, that is one of the coil packs. Second one here, the third one sat right down the end, which is really annoying to get to. It's kind of surrounded by pipework and stuff. I think this side's the easiest side. I don't know, one of the sides is a right pain in the arse to get to that bottom one. But anyway, so this is through that hatch which we took off earlier. So what I'm going to do is go and grab one of these 7-point, I think they're 7-point, no, 6-point little socket type things, so I can get all the coil packs out, unclip the harnesses, and then yeah, I'll get all the spark plugs out. I'll do that right now. Alright, I'm going to try and show you this because it's really annoying normally, but right up here what you can see is the little connector piece that goes onto the coil packs. Now these are actually shrouded by, you can just start to make it out on the actual wire, but there's like a rubber shroud that kind of goes over the top of these connectors. Now it's not so bad with these ones, but with the ones further down this way, which are a lot more difficult to get to, especially when you've got fat hands like me. Actually, there you go, you can see the little shroud there. it's worthwhile spending a little bit of time before you unclip the actual clip, pushing this rubber piece, this rubber shroud back, because I can tell you I've spent quite a while on previous changes actually just desperately trying to get my fingers into the rubber shroud to kind of pull this connector back out again to a point where you can then click it back over the top of these coil packs, and it just makes your life a hell of a lot easier, and it's something that I don't think I've ever seen on a video sort of shown as a potential pitfall point when you're doing this yourself. So anyway, worth noting, pull back the shroud. Right, so this is then one of the coil packs once it's been removed. These are looking in pretty good nick, to be honest, no cracks anywhere and stuff, because I'd replaced these not too long ago, because the previous ones that I had were awful and just didn't have any problems, but it's sort of preventative for future things. So anyway, so that's what that looks like. Right, for getting in this side, the easiest thing I've found to do is to shift this sort of pipe that's on the right hand side, because it's slightly flexible, as you can see. You can start to really twist this out of the way, and then it gives you just enough room to then get in behind this connector, which is just about to see it there on the corner, just where the spark plug needs to go. And then tools that I found, this sort of arrangement. So what I end up doing is putting in this whole thing first by twisting that pipe out of the way, and then come in with a ratchet afterwards, slap it on the end of it, and then that gives you then enough room to move it, and then you've got to then detach this thing and then pull this all the way out to then remove the whole thing afterwards, because there's not enough space to get all of it in at once, so you've got to do it separately. Right, so now we need to get access to the oil fill cap just to undo it, to kind of relieve any pressure. So when we undo the sump plug at the bottom, it's kind of all free flowing all the way through, and stops the vacuum being created and not letting the oil come out as quickly. So in the back here, unfortunately, because my garage is so low and the car is all jacked up, and also mainly because it's got a huge wang on the back of it, fortunately, can't open it. So I'm gonna have to rest this on my head. Ooh. Hard life and stuff. Right, so in this little compartment at the back, you've got your oil and your coolant. You need to undo the oil cap, which is the black one on the left hand side with the oil thing on it, and then just take it out, set that aside, and then you can just kind of leave this open, which then releases the vacuum. Let that, oh bloody hell, right, back down. Then what we do is come around, and now we're going to go under the car and undo the sump plug. Right, so now we're underneath the car. We've got little manifolds here, the high flow ones on top gear, looking cool. Then what you want is this little plug that's just over here. As you can see, there's the other side of the car, smack bang in the middle at the rear. The rear subframe up there. And then right next to it is this one here, which is the oil filter, which is this one here, which you need a special wrench for. Got a couple of these just picked up over the years for various cars. So anyway, so this one might look a little bit different to yours because it's black. This is mainly because this is a magnetic sump plug, which I fitted just to give, because I change the oil so often, easier to check it every single time for metal fragments, just to make sure that everything's kind of healthy, and there's nothing that's sort of catastrophically going wrong at the moment. What we are going to do is we're going to take this plug off and then drain the oil out and then do the oil filter, and then I'll see you when it's done. Ugh, that's what you don't want to do. You don't want to drop it in the oil. So now all the oil has been drained out the sump. I've put a spare plug back in just to stop it dripping anymore, because we're going to be moving this bucket over to where this oil filter housing is, using this multi-point sort of oil filter socket tool to remove it. I've already cracked it, so I should be able to just untighten it by hand now. So I'm going to do is, only thing you've got to be careful of a little bit when you're taking this off is that the oil doesn't spill everywhere. This switch is then your oil filter. It's just sitting up there. This literally just pulls on and pushes on and pulls off. So just grab a rag and grab it, which I'll just do. we're going to want to just grab our new one. Went for a man filter. Things doesn't really matter really between these. What it looks like is this. Nice and new. Should also come with a new O-ring, which is this one right here. One thing to remember on these is, let's see if I can get this in the light. You can see the little O-ring that kind of runs around the inside, just around that bottom piece there. There's a little sort of tab, which when this focuses in, just there you can see it's like a small gap. You can use that to basically pry it out and then fit your new one in. So just remember to change those every single time as well. Right, now I've just got our torque wrench. Just chucked the oil cap filter thing on the end of it, chucked it up to 25 newtons, which is what this measures in, because it requires I think 19 foot-pounds for the sort of oil filter piece, and then I think it's 37 then for the drain plug, but I'm going to do just under on that because it's the magnetic one. Right, so that's everything underneath all done. Now all that's left is to put the wheels back on, fill it back up with oil, and change the air filter. So I'll see you when it's back on the ground. This is not just oil, this is M&S Porsche approved extra virgin oil. Right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to change the air filter. I've actually got an ITG performance foam filter in here, so what I tend to do is I've got this sort of spare one that I've had a little while, which I just swap out for a couple of weeks so that I can clean the one that I've got properly and let it dry out, and then I can then fit it back in. So easiest way I've found actually for doing anything related in the engine bay is actually to just kind of get in it, so kind of get up close and personal. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use this little Torx kind of tool, so I'm going to flip the carpet up and then I'll show you what it looks like underneath. Right, so underneath you're met with the engine cover, which is this silver piece. This is where this Torx bit then comes in handy. You've got these fixings here, here, in the middle, and then the same two on the other side. And all it is you just undo these and then you can pull the cover off, which is just going to happen now. Right, and once you've got all the fixings off, you can just lift this cover off, chuck it out of the way, just pop it down for the moment. Right, and then you're met with this, which is the Cayman engine. As I said, 2.7 if you've seen any of my previous videos. So what we're looking for is this box over here on the left hand side. There's a couple of Phillips screws, and this will then allow you to take this access hatch out and then give you access to the filter underneath. So I'll just get those fixings off now. Right, now those screws are taken out, you can just grab this and just pull upwards. There's a little tab on the bottom of it which slides into, which is this bit here, which slides into a little locating piece that's on the plastic just down in there. And as you can see, there's my ITG foam filter. So now just chuck that over there. What you've got is this little fixing up the top here. This is what holds the filter in place once you've slid it onto the little shaft, which is just down in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take that out and then pop the filter out quickly, and then you'll next see it without anything in there. There we go, all nice and empty. ITG covered in some dirt, which is good, kind of shows that it's hopefully doing its job. So this is then going to be replaced with this man, which is it's a little bit grubby because, as I say, this is just the spare one that I use for a couple of weeks while I'm sort of cleaning this ITG, because it comes with like a full cleaning kit. So this one will just go back on, which is the standard OEM paper one. So just next you'll see it in there now. There we go. Right, all back to go. Cover all back on. Ready to put the engine cover on, and then we are done. And there we have it. So that's all done now. Fully serviced. Everything's all been changed. Hopefully you guys have maybe picked up something along the way that you'd be able to use on your own car. Hopefully you enjoyed the video from today, and see you on the next one. Goodbye.